Hello everybody, this is Valencia and welcome to my channel Balloons and Business, where I show you the business of balloon and event decor. So today I'm going to show you how I made this circular balloon garland with floral panel backdrop. So if you want to see how I made this, just stay tuned. I have my 4 panels facing backside up, and I'm going to connect these panels with some zip ties here. Okay, so I'm going to connect them through the center on the sides right here to connect this together into one block. Okay, so when attaching the panels, I decided to zip tie my panels onto my backdrop just to make it easier to film. But I would suggest that you attach the panels on the floor. That way it'll make it a lot easier for you to make sure that the panels are aligned with each other. You want to make sure they're even and that one's not sticking out further than the other one. So it's easier to do that on the floor, not hanging up like I'm doing. So you want to put your zip tie in with the ridge side facing towards you. And then when you loop the zip tie to put it through the knob and tie it, the smooth side will be facing outward. You also want to make sure that you hear the clicking sound when you are tightening up your zip tie. If you don't hear the clicking sound, then that means it's not locking in place, and that means you need to flip the zip tie over and then re-put it back in the knob and tighten it. And make sure that you don't tighten the zip tie all the way to the last notch. You want to leave some wiggle room. In case your panels are out of alignment, then you can shift them back into place before tightening them all the way. Now, I just want to mention something. I got this round backdrop stand and these 4 flower wall panels for a total of $20. I purchased them at a flash deal store. And so basically these are sellers that go to Amazon warehouses. They get pallets of returned items that I guess the sellers don't want, and they resell them to the public for low prices. Now, I checked the Amazon website and that round backdrop stand was going for anywhere between $50 and $70. And those panels were going at about 2 panels for $32. So I got a really good deal on this. And I would definitely suggest that you check your local area, do a Facebook search, and see if you can find a flash deal store near you. So this is how my flower panel looks connected together. I'm calling it a flower panel because it's not a flower wall. It's too small. Again, those flash deals are really great. Yes, you're getting returned items. There may be something broken or malfunction. I noticed on the back of this, some of the backing was cracked, but not enough that I could not connect my panels together securely. So I believe I got a good deal off of this, $10 for this whole thing. Whereas with, as you know, these flower walls, they may cost $10 a panel or $15 a small little panel. So I got this whole thing for $10. Okay, so as usual, I'm going to blow up 2 balloons at a time. I'm going to press them against the surface to release some air and round them out. And I'm going to tie the 2 balloons together in the dupe, leaving some slack at the neck. Now I'm going to be using various colors of pink for this balloon garland. So I'm going to be using various shades of pink for this balloon garland. So I'm using matte pastel pink from Simpertex in 5-inch, 12-inch, and 18-inch. Baby pink from Tuftex in 5-inch and 12-inch. Pink from Tuftex in 5-inch, 12-inch, and 17-inch. And fuchsia from Simpertex in 5-inch and 12-inch. So for the base of this balloon garland, I'm going to be blowing up all of my 12-inch balloons, and I'm going to be blowing up a total of 32 balloons of each color and tying them into dupes. So it's going to be a total of 16 dupes for each shade of pink. For those of you who want to know, I used about a total of 300 balloons for this balloon garland. This includes my 5-inch decorators, my 12-inch balloons, and the 17 and 18-inch balloons. So now it's time to twist my dupes into clusters of 4. Now, when connecting my clusters, I'm going to take one neck from one balloon in one cluster and a neck from another balloon in another cluster and tie them together. And that's how I'm going to connect all of my clusters. And I'm going to make sure to flatten out my clusters so that they're laying on top of each other nice and even. Now, the finished product for this balloon garland is going to be organic. That means I'm going to be using various sizes of balloons. However, I want the base to look more uniform. I want them to lay flat on top of each other. And I am tying together 2 clusters of each shade, and it's going in an ombre pattern with light to dark. So for my base, I'm starting off with 4 columns of 8 clusters, 2 of each shade. So when adding the balloons to the backdrop stand, I'm going to add them in sections. So I'm going to start off with this first section, and I'm going to push this down the bottom. So basically, I'm going to push the balloons into the backdrop stand where they go through the pole. So I'm just going to push it to where the pole is going through the balloons, and I'm pushing it down, trying to make it as even as possible. Now, it's not quite even yet, but I'm going to catch it later in the video. Now, to secure these balloons onto the pole, I'm going to take 2 balloons from the clusters at the very end, and I'm going to twist them over each other to make sure that it's nice and secure on the pole. So see me checking it out. Now I'm going to push it all the way down and make sure that it's nice and even onto that pole. Now for the rest of the sections, I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to twist 2 balloons from every other cluster onto the pole. So here I am at a slower speed, just sliding the balloons onto the backdrop stand. And notice I'm pushing the balloons up as I'm sliding them. And then I'm twisting 2 balloons from every other cluster. So basically 2 balloons from each shade, I'm twisting over the pole to make sure that it's nice and secure onto the pole. And I had to add a couple more clusters on there to fill in the full circle. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my panel backdrop. And I'm using some fishing line and a couple of backdrop clamps. So I'm going to tie some fishing line in the mouth of that backdrop clamp at least 4 times because I want to make sure that fishing line is on there nice and secure. Fishing line is very fine and it will slip out if you don't tie it on there enough. Now fishing line is very strong. It can hold some pretty heavy weight. So don't worry about it falling. It stood up all night with this fishing line. So I did this for 3 clamps. I tied some fishing line around it. And I cut the string, the fishing line, even for each clamp. And now I'm going to tie the other end of the fishing line onto the backing of that floral wall or floral panel. And I'm going to tie one on each end of the panel and then one in the center of the panel. Now to clip this on the backdrop, you're going to need some help. So I had my nephew and my niece holding up the panel for me while I clipped it on to the backdrop. So as you see, I was adjusting the length of the string by basically twisting it around the legs of the clamp. And then once I adjusted it to the length I wanted, I opened up the mouth of the clamp and put the remaining string in there. And then I just clamped that clamp onto the backdrop pole. So I'm just twisting that fishing line to the length I want, putting it in the mouth of the clamp, and then putting the clamp onto the backdrop pole. So to make sure that the floral panel didn't start swinging with the wind, I made sure to connect it to the backdrop at the 2 bottom corners. So now I'm trying to fill in this balloon garland so there's not such a huge gap between the balloons and the floral panel. Remember, I only had 4 pieces to this panel, so I had a lot of filling in to do. So I started adding in dupes by tying them to the balloon garland by the necks of the balloons, just like I did the original balloon garland base. Now, if you find it a little too tough to tie the dupes in by the necks of the balloons, you can twist them in like take a dupe and twist it around one of the balloons in the balloon garland, or you can use a 260 balloon, which is the balloon you use for balloon animals. As you can see, double tie it around the dupe, just like I'm doing with this 18 and 12-inch balloon, and then just wrap it around a couple balloons in the balloon garland and back around the dupe, and then tie the 260 into itself. And that's how you can connect these balloons in there. I prefer to use the necks because you use less material, but sometimes it is a little too difficult to do that because it's hard to find a neck that's long enough to tie in that dupe. So as you can see, I'm adding in my 17 and 18-inch balloons as well as some more 12-inch balloons. So now it's time to add my 5-inch decorators. I twisted my 5-inch decorators into clusters of 4, and I tied 2 of them together using a 260 balloon. And then I just wrapped the 260 balloon around some balloons in the balloon garland to attach my 5-inch decorators, making sure that I'm filling in gaps and adding more complexity to this balloon garland. So now it's time to add my neon happy birthday sign. I looped some fishing line underneath that chain, and I tied it several times on that backdrop clip to make sure it's nice and secure. And then I'm just going to clip that backdrop clip onto the backdrop stand pole. And now I'm going to be using some high shine to restore the shininess to these balloons. And here's the finished product to the circular balloon garland and flower panel backdrop. I strongly suggest that you give yourself at least 3 hours to do this from start to finish, connecting your floral panels, putting your balloon garland together, and attaching the floral panels and the happy birthday sign. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, go ahead on and like and please subscribe, and you'll get notifications on future videos on balloon and event decor. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.